when you're winning. Get a goal, it's just the beginning. You gotta sing when you're winning. Everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. You gotta sing when you're winning. Get a goal, it's just the beginning. Sing, sing when you're winning. Everywhere you go.
Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Sing When You're Winning, a Fantasy Football League Oddity podcast featuring distant cousins of podcast royalty and a very special guest this week who we will reveal very shortly. Waiting in line for the podcast throne once again this week are myself, Jamie, we've got Lee and we've got Chris. So if everyone introduces themselves this week, the name of their team, and this week, in honour of the clocks going back, we're channeling our inner Johnny Hates Jazz and asking if we could turn back the clock to any footballing moment, what would it be?
Well, I'll start if you don't mind. So, Cooper, manager of the Angry Dragons. Are we allowed to go back to a time when I wasn't born?
So, yeah, go back anywhere.
1966 World Cup final. It'd have to be just to kind of. I know my dad wasn't there, but he saw it, you know, and I just think that'd have to be. It's so iconic, isn't it, and caused so much controversy. Or just any time that Tottenham won something, just you know, we've got an empty cabinet, as you know, so just any time there.
Yeah, but you have won stuff in your lifetime, haven't you? So
yeah, I think we were the first team to do the league and cup double and all that type of stuff. So it's always good being the first to do something rather than being like, oh, you know, we won the FA Cup last season or whatever. Because that means nothing. That means nothing. That means nothing.
Yeah, who wants to do that?
He wants cup glory.
Exactly. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, I'm Chris. My team's the Cynical Time Wasters, and I would go back to 2005 Istanbul Champions League final, and specifically, I would be in the changing rooms at half time just to see what Rafa said to the team.
Yeah,
3-0 down, getting absolutely battered, and then oh my god, that second half, and then what a comeback. So yeah, it would be 2005 Istanbul, and specifically sitting on a bench listening to Rafa, and then, you know, getting my shin pads on and doing a John Terry.
Yeah. Iconic though, that, isn't it? It's one of them matches it'll be in folklore for a long time.
Oh yeah, I watched it. I was working at Corner House, a cinema in Manchester, and there was a load of Liverpool fans there working there at the time. So we all kind of clocked off a little bit early, I think, and headed to a really crappy pub that had loads of screens, and it was just such a good night. And at half time, the faces around, oh my god, just look at each other, just not speaking. And it was just one of the greatest nights. I loved it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I was doing in the second half of that football match?
Go on.
I was ironing in my flat. That was the first time I was so bad. I was watching it by myself. And I watched the first half and I was like, oh, this is just pointless.
That's
so
it, done.
I had to get up early in the morning, so I thought I'm going to do some ironing. I remember having the iron and going, bloody hell. I had to put it away.
Well, I don't know if I've ever thought to myself that this is rubbish. What I'm going to do instead is iron some clothes.
Yeah, I was going somewhere early in the morning with work, and I'd have to get up early in the morning to do some stuff. So, yeah, tragic really. But I did stop very quickly and got a beer out and watched extra time and stuff. But it was very random. I would go. I've talked before about Borough SWYW Bucharest, so I won't go back in time for that one. I'd go back. My probably second favourite football moment ever is it was one of those you had to be there moment. There's a Northeast book about non-league football called The Far Corner by someone called Harry Pearson. He was at the same game and he's got like a paragraph in this book, and it was Spennymoor Town against Ashton United in about 1994-95 season, and they needed to win to basically, it was like a cup final. I think Spennymoor was second, Spennymoor were third, Ashton United was second, and they were winning 1-0 with 10 minutes to go, and their fans were like celebrating, and Spennymoor won 3-1. Last 10 minutes, 3 goals, massive pitch invasion at the end. It was one of those you had to be there moment because it was promotion and everything. But would never be televised, but it was cracking.
promotion from what to what?
It was like Northern Premier League up to kind of whatever that next level was at the time. I can't remember exactly. I mean, Spennymoor are a lot higher now. They're in the National League North,
right?
But so there were a couple of divisions lower than that. But yeah, it was one of those where the opposition were just giving you a bit. They thought they were getting promoted, and then 3 goals last 10 minutes. It was like watching Brazil. But anyway, it was good, and I've never had many pitch invasions as a Borough fan, so to do it as a Spennymoor fan was quite good as well. So let's introduce our special guest, shall we? Who's been waiting ever so patiently if you're watching this on YouTube. So this week's special guest is a Sing When You're Winning fantasy manager who has played since the start, I'm led to believe, and in every league table he's always finished top 10, runner-up once, third twice, but as Steve likes to remind us, currently 21st. It's Prem boss and league stalwart. It's Paul Chambers Tonner. Let's give a warm Sing When You're Winning podcast welcome.
Thank you very much.
And I believe you're also organiser of the Cash League as well.
I am, yeah. Obviously, first, by the way, I just want to say I'm glad that the pod has started up on this, my worst ever season so far. I mean, it has been a shambles, but I'm sure we'll talk about that in a bit. Yeah, the Cash League, it was something that Steve had been thinking about for a while. Obviously, a million people elsewhere do it. And sometimes I act as his sounding board for ideas, and he mentioned it, and I thought, well, let's actually help him share some of the load, because obviously he does all of the admin for it. I thought, well, what if I run this one for you? So yeah, it's been, apart from my own performance, because I'm very low down on that one as well. Yeah, it's gone well so far, I think.
I like the way that you sort out the WhatsApp group as well, because it's very similar in tone to the way that Steve does all the other ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of I sometimes have to double check and go, oh, it sounds like Steve.
I think I've just been conditioned.
Having, you're in a cult. You're part of a cult.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
So is that true to say that you've been playing as long as Sing When You're Winning started then? You've seen every league season?
Yeah, back from 2011, I think. There was a few grays in my beard at that time. Fresh-faced young manager, hadn't quite got my coaching badges at that point. But yeah, it's been something seeing how it's kind of evolved over the years, and we'll soon be saying decades. From, I think when it first started, it was maybe 10 or so teams, and to where it is now, it's just crazy. So
is it mainly Leeds fans when you started then?
I think that is how I started. It was on Twitter, and there was, as every club has, you have Leeds Twitter, where we kind of watch the games and tweet about them at the same time. And I think it was a group of us from there that then Steve invited.
And yeah, have you, the times you've come runner up once? Sorry, the one time you came runner up. How close were you to winning that league?
No, It was like default. It's like when you finish runners up to Man City. You just happened to finish second. But it was not a close run thing.
Yeah,
but I'll take it.
Yeah, you could have said anything right now. We'd have believed you. No, it went out the wire.
Oh yeah, to the wire it was.
It was really
winning the league's overrated anyway. It's just disappointment every season afterwards. That's all I've found.
Can't be a Leeds fan and win everything. That's just not in our brand.
Well, we'll come out and talk about Leeds a little bit more in a bit, and obviously find out why you support Leeds, which it's almost like it's a weekly question on this podcast, why different people support Leeds. But we will come back to that. So we have a look back on game week 8, and obviously Steve isn't with us tonight, but he's left me the details of what's been happening across the 4 leagues. So in the Conference League, being Haalandless, continues to pay off for Vicky Sparks, who stays top after beating Natalie Pike. Duke Witter narrowly beat Paul Tonkinson to go second. Ben Halliwell got lucky with bonus points late on to Pip George. Alfie, Pete and Grace all won to take up the playoff spots. And Chris is now the last manager without a point yet. So Chris Murray and the Burger Society, we need to keep our fingers crossed for a win. I think you'd probably take a point right now. In League One, Jamie Hurst saw off Steve Wybrant's team to go 3 clear at the top. Lee Nicholson is second after beating Bresnan. Gareth Young's Anton Witter, and for a change, Phil Quah won to go into the playoffs alongside Rich Pipes, who was stunned as Chesney finally got his first win. So congratulations for that. I'm sure that podcast tips paid off at some point. And Chesney, Ben Taylor and Stu Kelly are the only bottom half teams to win. So Stu from the pod has won as well. I'm surprised he didn't come on to gloat about that one, to be fair. Into the championship, Tom Gregory stays top despite losing to Cole Jenkins. Andrew Clancy, who just missed out on promotion last year, pipped Henry to go up to second. Jim Daly and Carl Sewell also lost, which allowed me and Phil Pinder to move into the playoffs, which I was quite happy about. Alistair Griffin, Lee Cooper, and Jonas all lost to go 3 points adrift in the drop zone. It is very tight in the championship, though. It's a ridiculously tight league this season, I think.
The league of death, it is.
It is. It's the best league to be in, though. We all know that.
It is.
I'll find out next season at this rate.
Yeah, honestly, it's the best league to be in.
You'll be welcomed with open arms.
And in the Premier League, Mark Summerton with 8 wins from 8. I mean, that is impressive stuff.
Yeah,
really is.
That's good, that.
He's now 5 points clear and clearly the team to beat. Neil Martin, Andrew Chester and Eds, who beat Paul Chambers by a point late on. Sorry, Paul.
Happy birthday, Eds, by the way.
Yeah, happy birthday, Eds, today. Yeah, or yesterday, if you're listening to the pod Friday morning. We're just doing the Friday morning pod thing. But yeah, he's probably still celebrating. I think Blue Tones are playing tonight, aren't they? So they'll probably be celebrating along into the night. Rick's gritty team, because if you've not seen the Rick Gritter news that was out a couple of weeks, he's been for publicity photographs this week as well. So Rick sat in the Gritter. Yeah, it's brilliant. So that's been all over social media this week as well. So Rick's gritty team are up to 8th. Chris, John, and team of the week Faris were the only 3 now in the bottom half to win, and Faris stays bottom though. He seems to be having a bit of a poor season, which is unlike him. So that's what's happening across all of the leagues. If we look ahead though to game week 9, I don't know if people have seen the transfers in and transfers out this week. Some of the usual suspects, but there's a lot of people lumping on Guardiola into their team and Son and Mbeumo. I think every week Mbeumo's there. People are over time picking up him, and most transferred out has to be, I think, after last weekend, Saliba. Loads of people, almost 500,000, have opted for Saliba and Saka to go, and Luis Diaz as well. They're the top 3 of most transfers out. So hopefully, if you're listening in, that might give you some top tips if you're thinking of transfers this weekend.
Did you see the Saliba sending off? Did anyone see it? And
yeah.
What we? I'm a Tottenham fan, and as I'm loath
you want him banned for 10 games, right?
Yeah, I just thought it was really, really harsh. I know he was last man, but there was nothing in it. I didn't think.
I didn't think there was. For me, I won't go on a rant about Sky Sports commentators, but there was a similar type of challenge in the Liverpool-Chelsea game, I thought, early on. And they were very quick to go, oh, that's nothing like the Saliba one last night. Nothing. But actually, if you looked at it, there wasn't too much difference, I think, with where they were positioned on the pitch. So,
how long is Saliba out for then? Is it just 1?
3 when it's straight red.
Or was it straight red, right?
Okay.
Yeah, because he originally booked him, and then the VAR told him to go and rescind that and give the straight red because he was the last man, about 50 yards out.
Right.
I know, yeah, literally about a metre into their own half. And, joke.
But Arsenal have had too many senders off this season. which is already costing them. So,
Well, I was thinking about that as well. Apart from anything else, you end up with 10 players on the pitch who are playing the rest of the game. So that's not going to do much for their fitness. Do you know what I mean? If they're running about, frantically trying to preserve what they've got or try and claw back what they haven't got, that's not gonna help. Plus, the suspensions and all that kind of stuff, and the injury. I mean, Calafiori's injured now. Odegaard out.
yeah.
Saka still.
Yeah, Saka. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just about to push the button on Saka, to be honest.
Same, I think. Yeah.
Even though I'd be taking, because I've already done a transfer, and I'm thinking, even if I get someone who's sure to play, a certain 2 points, then the transfer is only costing me 2.
Yeah.
So might as well do it, especially as Arsenal have got some. The next 3 are not wonderful.
Yeah. Some of the games are that tight in the leagues as well, as you know, Paul. Recently, it's like, just those 2 points make all the difference. You've got to have players on the pitch. And I've been, last week I was like, right, I'm going to save up my transfers, but I'm going to have to, I've got my keepers out. So the Liverpool keeper's out. I've got Saka out. And I'm like, I'm going to have to make a change, because otherwise, if something happens to somebody gets injured, then I've got not much coming off the bench. So,
how many transfers have you got, Lee?
I've only got one now, because I did them all the week before. I got rid of Salah to bring in Palmer, who had an absolute cracking weekend last weekend. So really, really pleased I did that. And just rejig a few things. But I always try and keep $500,000 in the bank for players' prices going up and down, just in case I need to bring somebody back. So, but I'm going to have to make a change, I think, with Saka being out. He's only showing at 25% at the minute as well. So he's not going to be playing, I wouldn't have thought.
Well, we've got Arsenal, Liverpool at the weekend, haven't we? So what do we think how do we think that's going to go?
I think the fact that the Saliba's out, the Calafiori's looking like he's out, Saka's out, Odegaard's out, Havertz, his form seems to have dipped a little bit recently. I mean, I'm saying this as a Liverpool fan, but I think I'm not going to say we're going to batter them, but I think we might do okay. If it had been a full strength Arsenal, I wouldn't have known what, but I think at the moment it could be our game to win, really.
Okay.
The Reds.
Paul, you were going to come in there. Do you want to come in, Paul and Lee?
I was just going to say it's one of those games that has a 2-2 written all over it. It's at the Emirates, is it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. It just rings 2-2. I don't think there'll be many clean sheets to be had in that one.
Yeah, and Lee.
Yeah, I can't. Just Liverpool's form is like, even winning 1-0 the other night. They're just winning, aren't they? They're doing that kind of end of season. It doesn't matter if we win ugly, we're winning.
And Darwin scored as well. Bloody hell!
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I think I can't see Liverpool not winning, to be honest with you.
I'm going to be controversial. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go Arsenal, because I just think it's probably against the odds at the moment, the way they're playing, because they looked knackered in Europe the other night, and kind of got the win, but they weren't convincing. They missed a stupid penalty. I thought Liverpool were good against Chelsea, but I thought if Chelsea had the scoring boots on, that could have been a draw. Chelsea could have got the win, to be fair. So I'm going to go with Arsenal, and we'll laugh at me next week when Liverpool win like 5-0 or something like that. But other games just to look at, I've picked 2 random ones out tonight, as this is Friday morning. This pod goes out. Leicester against Forest. Anyone fancy Friday night football?
I think Forest all day long with this one. Really, I think Chris Wood's. I'm not sure if any of you guys have got Chris Wood in your team, and I'm wishing I'd got him weeks ago.
I had him. I sold him stupidly, but Welbeck's doing all right. So, but Welbeck's injured now, so I'm not sure whether to swap Welbeck out for Wood. I'm debating that one.
I do have him, and I put in the chat the other day that he nearly saved me. So he was getting 3 bonus points, and I was winning. I was beating Ed by a point. Then he got subbed. It dropped to 2. We were drawing, and then what's his name? The Forest defender then jumped him. He got the extra bonus point, so I lost by 1 in the end. So it's just watching it tick
That
down.
is a nightmare.
Painful.
That is a horrible way to lose.
I think it'll be. I think the game tonight will be. Yeah, I think it feels like a 1-1. Leicester are doing annoyingly better than I'd hoped that they would do. I wanted them to crash and burn. Plus, it's Steve Cooper, isn't it? So he'll have something to prove.
And Lee, what's your thoughts on Leicester Forest?
My father-in-law is a Derby County fan, so I'm going to have to say Leicester because he just doesn't like the team in red. The name isn't spoken when he's around, and
it runs deep, doesn't it? It really runs deep.
Yeah.
Does he call them the trees?
No,
that's the derogatory one. They call them the trees, don't they?
Yeah, it's a little bit worse than that, unfortunately. But he's still going to go to the pub, the local pub, and he's going to leave before the match kicks off because there's a few Forest fans goes there. He's a season ticket holder at Derby as well, so he always brings that up. I go and watch him, home and away, and blah blah blah. Whereas a lot of the other fans in the pub are like Forest fans, but don't go, so he always pulls that one out.
But yeah, I think it'll be a half decent game, to be fair, tonight on the box, as it were. And Brentford against Ipswich is the other random game that I've picked up this weekend.
Brentford, I'd have to say.
You would, yeah. I can't see anything other, but it's one of those weird games, isn't it? Where if Ipswich are going to win one, they might be looking at that and fancying the chances, maybe.
Yeah,
but I mean, they've got Wisser coming back. Is he on the grass, as they say?
Not sure. But Mbeumo, I'm thinking of swapping Saka out for Mbeumo. So I don't know.
I'm thinking the same. So that the result will largely depend on that. Because if I transfer Mbeumo in, then Brentford are going to get absolutely battered, and Mbeumo will break a leg within the first 20 minutes. So yeah.
Well, similarly, if any of you guys have had Haaland from the start of the season, I'm sorry I brought him in week 4 because
he's been rubbish the last couple of weeks.
Oh my God! And I said at the start of the season, I said, I can't see me having him for the entire season. And if I'd stuck with that, done as Vicky Sparks is doing, then I might not be sitting here. I might be on an island. No, that's not how it works. But I would have been in a slightly sunnier disposition than I am now, knowing that Welbeck was by far my highest scorer this week. By a long chalk.
Yeah, I did the same.
My only scorers.
I did the same as you, but with Diaz. Diaz was absolutely on fire. Couldn't not score. I brought him in, and he's done nothing and hasn't even started the last 2 games. So
well, I did that in the same wild card, so I'm going to take part responsibility for that. I thought, is it Jota? Is it Diaz? I mean, I suppose Jota's now injured, but I would have still benefited from the points over the last couple of games. So, absolute shocker. Luckily, I was playing Leon in the league and also in El Cashico in the Cash League. Oddly, I don't know why. It was just a bit of a freak, but meant I beat him twice in one weekend, so that was nice.
It's harsh. I actually won in El Cashico this week and actually went down the table because of the goal difference. I was fuming.
But just on Brentford, if anyone's got Mbeumo, apparently the stats people say that he scored in all 4 of his appearances at home this season, averaging 10 points per match in fantasy across those games. So if you've got him, you should be guaranteed 10 points this weekend.
Well, that's the thing. I was thinking about doing the old triple captain on Haaland if he had done well over the weekend, and then obviously he blanked again. But then midweek,
that
a brace, and that was a cracker.
Yeah.
Also, this is Southampton I mean, everyone's scoring against them for fun. You can't
I-
see him.
I think I might still put a cheeky little triple captain on, because it's such a lottery, and you don't know if they're going to get a double game week in May or something. April.
There's
I
always
don't
a
know.
chance of getting pepped, isn't there, on a double game week? Everyone
Yeah.
saves them, and then Pep does a pep, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Comes
and
on
then
for
it's
the last 3 minutes.
yeah, absolutely.
Bastard!
There's no way
you don't want him to come on at that point. You're like, please don't.
Yeah, but I think I might still play it. I don't know who I'm playing next week. Actually, I'll just check and see. It's none of you guys, but well, it's
Definitely not me. And
it's
Lee.
definitely not you.
We're having it large in the championship.
Oh, Nikolai, right?
Oh, he's having a bit of a resurgence now, actually.
Is it?
He
Just
took
looking
it
at
like
that.
that, didn't he?
Since he got called out on the podcast, once he'd stopped saving the world and saving children and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's like,
We had Harwood Bellis on the bench, which blocked Welbeck coming on for 9. So you had Harwood Bellis for 0, blocking Welbeck for 9 last week.
that's good.
That's gonna hurt.
So that's looking ahead just to some of the games this weekend. But now it's time to have a bit more of a chat with Paul. So again, this is a question I ask every week, pretty much. But why Leeds? Why do you support Leeds?
Does he get more exasperated each week? Like, why? Why, God, why?
Possibly, yeah. It's like one of life's ultimate questions. Why Leeds? Why now?
Well, like I say, Yorkshire born and bred, so we're easy choice. No, basically my dad cursed me. I'm sure he wouldn't admit it if he was still around, but I'm pretty sure he was a Glory supporter. I wish I had some of that glory to support, but we take our licks, and yeah. So he cursed me with that, and I'm trying to do the same with my own offspring. Share the misery.
Is it working?
Well, I took him to his first matches last season, and actually he really enjoyed it, so he's getting into it a bit more now. However, he's got the curse because his favourite player was Archie Gray.
Right. He'll be asking for a Spurs shirt then.
Exactly.
Like, no.
I told him not to pick one this year. But yeah, it's been obviously interesting, as I'm sure all the Leeds fans will tell you, especially if they're of my age, kind of early 40s. The ups and downs that we've had, but wouldn't swap it for the world.
What's your highest of highs and then lowest of lows?
There's so many to choose from. I think certainly because I was too young really for the '92 title win. Typically, don't remember it all that much. So it was the Champions League run in 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
I wish I'd enjoyed it more at the time, because we were back then we were just like, oh, that's it. This is going to happen every season. Now we're going to be making our shoulders. We've got this young team. We're going to win the title, and we'll soon be European champs. And we should have enjoyed the ride a bit more, rubbing shoulders and competing a little bit with like Barca and Real, and getting some absolutely brilliant results in that run to the semi-final. It was just, it was a great time. But I if I knew it was going to be that and then 20 years of abject misery, I'd have relished it a bit more. And the low was all of the time under Ken Bates. It was just miserable. I mean, we've had some fairly crazy owners down the years, but under Bates, it was just an absolutely miserable existence. And he's trying to charge, £35-40 a ticket for League One football, and the stadium's half full, and then we're selling players like Fabian Delph, and then he's using that money to pay for cladding on the East. It was just joyless. Yeah,
I think you're the second person to say that, because I remember it might have been Steve actually talking about the pie tax.
It was Nathan who mentioned the pie tax, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which just sounded madness.
In Wigan, I think it's a normal thing, to be honest with you. The pie tax is just like, part and parcel of living.
But yeah, and I forgot all about Ken Bates at Leeds, to be fair. If you're not a fan of someone, you don't always remember stuff. But yeah, just a weird relationship. That one, you wouldn't have seen Ken Bates heading to Leeds.
What did you think of Risdale? I mean, I only think of Peter Risdale.
Yeah, obviously he's pretty much responsible for those highest of highs and lowest of lows, really. It did get ridiculous towards the end, like when we had on the books at one time Viduka, Smith, Kuehl, and Robbie Keane, and we still went out and bought Robbie Fowler. You know, it was just those kind of things were just like, yeah, he's kind of, I think his ego's run away with him a bit there. I actually met him. What was it? It was Leeds Chelsea. It was the game where James Milner dumped Desai on his arse and then curled one past Ahoy. I remember these things because Leeds fans have very few highlights to remember. And I got quite a few signatures autographs after the game, and then was walking down past the south stand and after the game, and Ridsdale just walked past me. This was before. I think it was just before all of the financial stuff had happened. We knew it was starting not to look great, and he blamed it on missing on Champions League. But then, met him. I was like, "Oh, please sign this," and got his autograph. And then it was either the next day or a week after when it was like basically Ridsdale had signed all of these off and had mismanaged the funds. I was like, "Yeah, if it was now, I wouldn't have got his autograph. I may have counted that slightly differently."
Something over him.
Yeah. But we did have the European nights from it, and they've we were in the rarefied air for a bit. We were top of the league, turn of the millennium, and playing some absolutely brilliant stuff at that point. And yeah, it looked like good times were to come, and well, we all know what happened next.
Yeah, but you're doing all right this season. I think you're on a bit of an up at the moment. Some cracking results lately, and if you hadn't conceded that ridiculous goal at Sunderland, you'd be laughing even more right now.
Oh God! I mean, look, I normally am a bit more. I don't want to say measured, but I leave the wildly optimistic predictions to Rich. We have a separate Leeds chat from a lot of the guys from the league, and Rich Lay, Kaiserslautern manager. He's very, very optimistic all the time about every game and about how we're going to do. So normally we kind of leave him to it. But we're by far, we are definitely the best team in the championship this year. I think, as far as quality goes, anyway, no one can really touch us. We
could get into a debate here. The XG in the championship, there's only one team who missed 50 million chances every game. The top of the league if they didn't.
Would that be Borough by any chance?
That would be Borough. Hey, I'll take the 1-0 win against Sheffield United, as I'm sure you lot would as well. Probably happy to see them get beat. But anyway.
Oh yes, for sure, and good old Bill Ayling with his goal line clearance as well.
Yeah, it was cracking. He's one of our best signings. Borough fans are starting to slag him off a bit, which I think is madness. I think he's a great player.
He'll always be a legend for Leeds. His legs had started to go a little bit, and but I'd have just had him around because he always puts a shift in. And always gives his all. But yeah, I do think we're a class above. And like I say, it's not like me to normally say those kind of things. The only team that can stop Leeds from getting promoted this year is Leeds, and we've got a good record of that.
So it might happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think the championship is warming up very, very nicely this season. There's just no one seeing. Although I think Leeds are showing signs that they're going to be that team that just stretches away a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's no one going to do an Ipswich or a Leicester. I think we're the only team that potentially could, but I don't see us doing it. We'll have a blip probably around about February, March, just to get our hearts racing, make us feel alive,
Yeah. No, it's inevitable, isn't it? But yeah. So, Paul, unlike lots of our guests, you've listened to this podcast a couple of times, so you're familiar with the format, which is good to hear. We ask everybody to prepare a question, have some homework, and prepare a question for you. So, Lee and Chris, if you've got your questions ready, I'll kick off though by asking, Paul, what's your favourite bowling technique?
So I get stick for this, but I give it the proper. I don't spin it, but I give it. Wait, are we talking 10-pin or are we talking?
We're talking cricket. We're talking the cracking cricket.
I'm a decent off spinner. I would say, with my pace, it could. cricket wasn't a huge sport with my school and around where I grew up. It was largely football and rugby. So we didn't get to play as much. But yeah, I'm a half decent off spinner.
So that's 2 weeks in a row. We've had half decent off spinners.
Oh, we're just the same. Yeah. We're just the same. I think our international test wickets are very similar as well.
Brilliant.
What was it like winning the Ashes?
Oh yeah, it was great. I don't know if Swanee told you, but we looked up at the trophy and there was
there was a long chopstick on it, which I love that story. Brilliant. So the next question I've got is, are you happy to tell us all about the perils of tweeting on a well-known social media platform?
Yes. It feels like a lifetime ago now, but so this was back in 2010, and yeah, very long story short, I got arrested for a quite obviously jokey tweet that I'd put on about Robin Hood Airport in Doncaster, because I was living in Doncaster at the time and due to fly over to Belfast to see a woman, my now wife, and there was loads of like bad snow, shut the airport down, and this relationship had kind of happened organically on Twitter. Neither of us were going for it and trying for it. It just kind of happened, and we had like a fair few mutual followers between us who were almost following it, if you will, because Twitter was quite new at the time, so it was its own little thing. Yeah, and it was more like to them to say, oh, shit, the airport's closed. If it doesn't open, I'm going to blow it sky high. And I didn't think anything of it, because obviously it was just like a throwaway thing. It had a few hundred followers at the time. About a week later at work, a guy walks in, goes into my boss's office. I get called in. I think it's like a meeting about. He looked like a local farmer. I mean, we did like loads of deals with local farmers. So my boss goes, "Can you come in?" Yeah. Grab a notepad, go in there. The guy says, "Can you come with me down to the lobby?" Come downstairs, and there's 5 police officers waiting in the lobby for me. And he goes, and one of them unfurls a hard copy of the tweet, and he said, "Did you send this?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Right, you're going to have to come with us. I'm afraid you're under arrest for a bomb hoax." Wow. And I was just absolutely dumbfounded, and like I say this all the time, but the guys, I just didn't know what to say or how to act. Yeah. He was like, "Do you have any weapons on you?" I was like, "Well, I've got some golf clubs in the boot of my car." I just didn't know. You know what I mean? I just completely had no idea. Taken down to the cells, was held there for about 8 hours, interviewed by CID. Was released that evening, and then like the CID officer, the detective, was like, saw it for what it was. And he was like, "Look, sorry about this, but it got reported to us. We have to check it out." So I thought that'd be at the end of it. And then 2 weeks later, I found out I was charged under some very obscure Telecommunications Act. And then from there, it just basically blew up. It became this whole cause celeb, as they call it, a lot of like liberal type, free speech celebs jumped on it, backed it. Stephen Fry, Graham Linehan before he lost his mind, Al Murray, loads of people. Yeah, and it was just absolutely crazy time. I was doing interviews from America to Thailand to all over the shop. It was just very, very crazy time. I think it was just because it was like the first one and they just didn't know how to handle it. Basically it went on for 2.5 years after sending the original tweet to eventually getting to the High Court, and then the Lord Chief Justice at the time eventually just said, "What on earth is this?" Like dismissed it.
But that was the second appeal as well, is that right?
So it originally went to a magistrate's court, then to the county court, or the other way around, I can't remember now, and then it went to the High Court, and there were 2 judges, and they couldn't agree, so then it went back to the High Court.
Right.
And then it was fine at that last one finally.
Bloody hell! But it must have been really odd as well, knowing that you were probably uniting free speech on the right and the left at the same time.
And I did get a lot of tweets to that effect from both. They were coming at it from very different angles, but
Yeah.
but yes, you're right, they did for sure.
Yeah.
It's
No, I remember
phenomenal story, really. Just like how we know, we joke in WhatsApp groups and stuff like that, how something so innocuous caused holy hell with your life for a few years.
It's given me a great dinner party story to dine out on anyway.
Yeah,
But,
no.
and I guess what's added to it, because it kind of picked up in the summer, because before the last appeal, my lawyer got a call saying from the CPS saying, look, we're from the CPS's kind of senior advisors saying we've had too much egg on our face from this, getting a lot of bad press. We're going to drop it. We're just going to drop drop the case before the final hearing. So we were like, oh, fantastic. We don't have to go through the whole rigmarole. We're all gearing up for that. And then my lawyer got a second call the next day saying that Keir Starmer himself had chosen to prosecute it, to continue with the prosecution. So obviously when it was likely he was going to be made Prime Minister, I got a load of interview requests from all over the shop in the summer, like the Sunday Times and the Guardian and all that were.
God.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, can't
And
be
so
bothered with that.
I was going to ask you, how many times have you been sitting there and this comes up and people go, oh, that was you? I mean, is it all the time?
Yeah, pretty much. And I started a new job last year, and as part of their kind of diligence on me, they'd Googled it to kind of explain. Thankfully, they're all fairly good about it. But
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. I was like,
Yeah. Oh,
what
brilliant.
can you say at this point? You're just going.
It was just a joke.
But it wasn't even that. I think that's the weird thing. It was just kind of light-hearted interaction. Yes, over social media, but it wasn't like you were trying out some new material, which people were kind of talking about at the time. Especially after you get your Al Murray, other stand-ups. I felt like part of it was almost like being a critique of you as a comedy writer.
Yeah,
well, it's nothing to do with that. Do you know what I mean? It's literally about common sense.
In the first two court appearances as well, this is the weirdest thing. Is that I had to stand in the witness box and like go through the nuances of the English language and be able to articulate myself in that situation to judges and magistrates in a way that that doesn't tie myself up in knots. And like I wasn't that articulate when doing it, and they were like, oh god, the second one they were trying to make out like I was I was doing it to impress Sarah, my now wife, like as a way of trying to impress her, show my love for her. But I was like, what? This is all. I just want to stop and say, this is insane. You're insane. This is insane. But you can't quite do that in it. Yeah, basically, my lawyer said, no, common sense has no place in a legal setting. It's very much to the point.
Yeah, and it becomes about winning or losing rather than. Yeah. Oh well, I'm glad you got through it, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's good that you're
definitely
telling this tale from like disbelief point of view, and it's in the past. I think that's the best thing. But yeah, have we got any other more light-hearted stories for poor Paul? There, we felt like we put him under the grill for 5 minutes. But,
well, I was going to ask Paul. So, if you could choose a Leeds United player, past or present, who you think would get you most FPL points in your team right now, who would you get? And I'm not talking about the best Leeds player, because you can have the best player in the team who Patrick Vieira, for example, you're not going to put him in your FPL team because he's not going to win that many points, even though he's often the best player on the pitch. So if it was a Leeds United player who's going to get you the most points, who would it be?
It would either be, and I hate to say it because of how he kind of left Leeds, but probably Harry Kewell, because he was pretty much every season he was good for like 15 of each goals and assists. He
was brilliant, wasn't he?
He was so good. He was, and that's what breaks my heart how he left. He never quite reached those heights for Liverpool.
No.
But on his, like, there were I think at one point Inter Milan, when Inter Milan were in their pomp, were in for him for about 35, 40 million. This was 20, 25 years ago. He was so good. He really was that good of a player. If not him, I'd go Ian Hart, because again, you've got like a goal scoring defender who's going to get you probably 6 or 7, maybe even more goals, and penalty taker as well.
Well, I had him in my. I definitely remember having him in my Telegraph pre-internet send away your results, and also Viduka as well.
Of course.
Although but then I kept when the Telegraph did the bonkers thing of including Celtic and Rangers in Fantasy League as well, so you could choose Celtic and Rangers players, and you had the likes of Viduka and Larson and Stilian Petrov was another favourite at that point. I think you could even get Chris Sutton. Yeah, it was when Sutton was playing for Celtic at the same time. But yeah, Viduka was a cracking player.
He was fantastic. He was, and I know it's the old great touch for a big man, but he really did.
The Peter Crouch effect. Yeah,
he was so. The one goal. It wasn't even his goal. It was I think it was against Partizan Belgrade, and he just does this drag back heel through ball to Alan Smith to then score. That was just like, you just don't expect it of a huge number 9 like he was.
Yeah,
beautiful player.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely one of the best. Lee, what's your question?
My homework wasn't done this week, teacher. However,
on the fly then.
Yeah, Geoff Capes died yesterday, and Geoff Capes was kind of like one of my heroes growing up, because I used to watch like Strongest Man and Superstars was such an epic program that I became a massive fan of Brian Jacks for no other reason than he could do push-ups all the time, and he was really quick. But that kind of made me think, right, what's your favourite sporting moment outside of sport? So, like a sports personality doing something that you wouldn't normally see them do.
Ooh. See, I think without being a specific moment, and he doesn't quite get he does get plaudits within his field, but watching Ronnie O'Sullivan, literally any time he plays for his entire career is just like watching wizardry, and the stuff that he can do, I think, is just I know it's snooker a sport, but watching
there's the podcast title there.
I can think of a few managers who'd disagree with you.
Maybe Neil Robertson for one.
Yeah.
I live
as well.
I live 5 minutes away from Kyra Wilson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I pass his house every time I'm walking the dog, and then I just shout, "It's snooker sport!"
Can I tell you my Geoff Capes story?
Yes.
Right. So I was he was a hero of mine when I was growing up. So this is kind of early to mid 80s. So I was about 7 or 8, and watching him on World's Strongest Man. And my mum's from Crieff up in Perthshire. So every summer we used to go up to Crieff, and this one year we went to the Highland Games, and Geoff Capes was there. So this was about 1985, so I was 9, something like that. And I wanted to meet him, and I couldn't meet him. And then I met him briefly, but then there wasn't enough time to get his autograph, and I really wanted his autograph. So I said to my mum, I want Geoff Capes' autograph. How do I do it? And my mum said, well, go and speak to Ewan, who's playing in the pipe band. He was drumming. So this is the son of a friend of my mum's who she went to school with back in the day. And so Ewan got the piece of paper and got it signed and brought it back and all this kind of stuff. And then it was only when Ewan got famous that we realised that it was actually Ewan McGregor who'd got me Geoff Capes' autograph.
What a story.
Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah.
That wasn't as much Geoff Capes as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
there wasn't much there, was there?
It's a great story.
Both of them had great use of the force.
Indeed. Oh, class. Yeah, but rest in peace, Geoff Capes. Yeah, it's one of those when you hear that, it's like, wow. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but two of my early 80s heroes died within days of each other. Ron Airy died as well, and he played Tarzan in the 1960s. So that was two out of my massive heroes from the 1980s within a couple of days. So basically, I'm just wanting to make sure that Lee Majors is
I'm named after Lee
okay. You're not.
I am. My brother's called Steve, so I'm Lee Majors, and my brother's Steve Austin.
Steve Austin.
My mum had a thing.
Brilliant.
Wow. So we need to make sure he's safe. So if anyone listening, any of the 15 people who are listening, if any of them have got contacts to Lee Majors, just make sure he's safe and gives us 3 rings.
Yeah, if the Grim Reaper goes for him, just give him Ken Bates instead.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of bitterness that comes through my experiences. I don't know if that comes across.
we all have them, don't we? We all have them. It's true. Shall we have a game of Sing When You're Winning Superfan? Shall we do that? So each week we're going to test our guests' footballing knowledge and see how many questions they can get correct in 90 seconds. Now, the last 2 weeks we have called on VAR because we thought, has the person who's been counted correctly? And on both occasions, they have been counting correctly. So there's some weird thing happens towards the end of the 90 seconds where I always think, oh, they've surely scored more, but perhaps they haven't. So yes, this week, who wants to be the official timer, Lee or Chris? Who wants to do that?
I can do the timer.
Ready?
I've got my phone ready.
Right. Well, I'll do this. I'll do the scoring.
You do some fingering. I'll do the pressing buttons.
And so, if you're doing the timer, then Lee, you've got to think of the word to shout when we get to 9 seconds. What are you going to shout?
Oh, sheep.
Sheep. Okay.
Sums me up well.
So we will start when I ask the first question. We've got a bit of an interesting bunch of questions this week.
Oh no!
So we'll make a start. In English football, what is St. Totteringham's Day?
Oh, I mean, it's got to be Tottenham related, but
It is.
You bastard!
Is it when they threw away their best chance at the league? When was it? Was it against Liverpool?
No, it's the date each season, potentially each season, Lee, in which it is mathematically impossible for Tottenham to finish above Arsenal. Manchester United famously wear red, but what colours did they wear before adopting red?
Yellow and green.
Green and gold. I think we'll give you that.
Yeah.
Particularly after the first ridiculous question. Can you name the most capped Germany international of all time?
Oh.
Just say yes.
Michael Ballack.
Lothar Matthäus.
That was going to be the next go. Yes.
Finally, yeah. And the next question is: English rock star Elton John was twice the owner of which football club?
Watford.
Yes. Which country won the first ever World Cup in 1930?
Uruguay.
Yep. Champions League has been won only once by a team from Romania. Can you name them?
Steaua Bucharest.
Yes. Spanish football, what is the Pichichi?
Sheep.
The Pichichi, oh my god. That one I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. Couldn't even
The award given to the top goal scorer named after a football player called Pichichi, apparently. So that's a very random one. But you got 4, I think. So that puts you on a par with most people. I think that puts you joint second. Joe's up front with 6. Adam, Paul, and Swanee, and now yourself have all got 4.
6 is impressive, to be fair.
6 is impressive.
It is impressive.
We are the Pichichi girls.
That's the
So,
title of the pod.
well, we've got we've got his snooker as sport. I quite like that one. To be fair, I think it might grab people's attention. Should we have a quick update on Bletchley Scott?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes,
I'm
please.
wearing the strip. They were playing second in the league last week, and we did fear for them, and we were right to fear for them, unfortunately. So they lost 11-0 to Tattenhall. But
It's humbling. It's a humbling.
It is, but if they were second in the league, it sounds like they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
So let's send some positive vibes to the team this weekend as they play Milton Keynes City Jaguars.
Come on, Bletchley.
Come on, Bletchley. So come on, we've got our fingers crossed that you've won this season. You've drawn a couple, and now you've got. I think you've played first and second. You've got them out of the way. So let's fingers crossed, and we'll find out next week how they've got on. Right, shall we wrap this week's episode up with a random game this week, as we're getting close to Halloween. Bear with me, and Paul, we were talking about Twitter, so we're going to play Trick or Tweet. Is the game that we're going to play this week, and we've got 3 footballers' tweets, and you need to tell me whether they're real or fake. So, is it a trick or is it a tweet? See what I did there?
Nice.
Nice.
So we'll start with Gary Lineker. Is this a genuine tweet from Gary Lineker? So, trick or tweet? Everyone can join in. He said, allegedly, or did he? Wonder if the young French midfielder Choumeni has the nickname Chicken.
I'm going to say yes because I just want it to be true.
It sounds like the kind of dad joke he would make. Actually, fairly innocent, can get away with it.
I think he might have thought it through and gone, no. I think he would have overthought that and not tweeted it.
Well, it was back on the 10th of October 2021, and it's true. It was a tweet, but he did tweet that.
Wow.
Choumeni has the nickname Chicken. That was Gary Lineker on the 10th of October 2021.
I'm disappointed, Gary. Disappointed.
Well, the next
Funny
one. Can people remember the footballer Kevin Horlock?
Just about, I think.
Yeah.
I can only think of Terry Hurlock.
No, there was a Kevin Horlock. I vaguely remember him. He was a low league player, I think. But anyway, did he or didn't he tweet back in January 2013? Paolo Di Canio helps clear the snow off the Swindon pitch late into the night, then buys all the helpers a Starbucks. #Ledge.
I think Di Canio is a bit of a puzzle. I think it's the kind of thing he would do, and it would sit very well within his overall makeup with the massive right wing racism and deeply unpleasant stuff. He's such a puzzle. So yeah, I think this is possibly true.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'll go true. It's just like this kind of random shit that he'd do.
Yeah. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, I'm also going to go true, largely because if he didn't, who the hell makes that up?
No, yeah, exactly. And to be fair, I've slightly amended it, so I could technically say that it's a trick, but most of it's true. He helped clear the snow off the Swindon pitch late into the night and bought all the helpers a pizza. Didn't buy them a Starbucks. He bought them a pizza. But so you're all right there. And the final one, Peter Crouch. Did he or did he not say this? I see plenty of tall fellas have dressed as me for Halloween. A fantastic compliment and an incredible insult at the same time. Enjoy.
I'd see it short of putting on a kit, like a Liverpool kit or a Spurs kit or whatever. I don't know how you would dress like Peter Crouch. Do you know what I mean?
That is a very true.
False, I mean, he's got teeth.
Yes.
Yes. It's not like you're dressing up as, Craig Johnston or something with the hair, or Souness with the moustache out. I'm always going back to Liverpool players. Sorry, but no, I don't know how you would look like Peter Crouch apart from being 6'7".
So what we
Good
think?
point. Good
Trick
point.
or tweet?
I'm going to go trick as well now. You've convinced
Yeah, I think
me,
it's
Chris.
trick. Trick all day long.
I'm also going to go Trick because I actually think he would be more self-deprecating than that if he was.
Well, it was Halloween. He did tweet that on 2019. So there you go. 5 years ago, he was tweeting and kind of taking the mick out of himself. But yeah, I must admit he'd normally go further than that. And that was the very short-lived game, Trick or Tweet. So it's Halloween next week. We could stretch it out for another week, possibly.
Possibly,
we'll see. We'll see. But thank you so much, everyone, once again this week. A huge thank you to Paul for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And remember, you can follow us on Twitter at SWYW_FPL. If you're watching this on YouTube, just leave us a comment. Any comment will do. And we might talk about it in next week's show, where we'll be joined by another top guest. So thank you once again to Chris and to Lee. And enjoy your footballing week. Keep on singing and keep on winning. Goodbye.